So, guys, Christian Parker just admitted something that nobody in that building is downplaying, and it's about a guy who's barely gotten mentioned all offseason. Everybody's been talking about Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams, DeMarvion Overshown. Meanwhile, this rookie has just been quietly working, staying out the spotlight, and now right before camp opens, the coaching staff comes out and says they don't even have to guess where he fits anymore because they can already see it on tape. That's not a small statement, guys. That's somebody with eyes on this roster every single day, telling us a guy we haven't even been talking about is further along than anybody realizes. And when you put that next to what this player himself has been saying behind the scenes about wanting to take a starting spot this year, not someday this year, you start realizing there's a real battle brewing at one position that nobody's paying attention to. So let me walk you through exactly what got said, who I'm talking about, and why I think the Cowboys just got the next defensive superstar. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. All right, so training camp is basically here, right? We're talking about a week out, and before things get real, I want to slow down for a second and talk about somebody I think we've all kind of slept on. We spent this whole offseason going back and forth about everybody. Caleb Downs, Rashawn Gary, Kobe Durant. We talked about whether DeMarvion Overshown can get back to where he needs to be, whether PJ Day. Locke is a hidden piece on this defense. And look, all of that's fair, all of that matters. But there's one guy on this roster who I think just hasn't gotten the credit he deserves, and that's Jaishawn Barham. Now, honestly, the reason I keep coming back to him isn't just the physical tools, though we'll get to those. It's his demeanor, man. If you go back and watch any of his interviews, watch how he carries himself around the media, how he carried himself in college. This is a locked-in individual. I mean genuinely locked in, not for show. And there was something that came out of rookie minicamp, a quote from Jesse Holley, where Jaishawn Barham straight up said he wants to take a starting spot this year. Not eventually, not down the line, this year. And I love hearing that because that's exactly the mindset you want from a guy in his position. It does two things at once. One, it tells you he's not satisfied just being on the roster. And two, it puts everybody in front of him on notice, whether that's Overshown, D. Winters, or Shamar James, whoever it is, because it's not just about competing for a job against the guys already here. The front office could still go bring in another veteran linebacker. That's not off the table at all. So now you got a rookie who's basically saying, I don't care who you bring in, I'm already here and I'm coming for this. Now here's where it gets really interesting, because this is where Christian Parker comes in, and what he said about Jaishawn Barham recently is the kind of thing that made me sit up. He basically said the best part about this kid is you don't even have to project where he can play because you can already see it on tape. You want to see him off ball, see how the transition looks before you start moving him around, but he's got that extra versatility once he's on the second level, and he's still fully capable of playing the edge too. Now think about what that actually means. When we first drafted Jaishawn Barham, a lot of people, myself included, started throwing around comparisons, and I gotta be honest, I don't even want to put that kind of pressure on the kid by comparing him to our guy who wears 11. That's just not fair to anybody. Micah Parsons is his own category completely. But what I will say is this. We now have another player on this defense with legit positional versatility, somebody who can line up on the edge and also drop into that second level and still look natural doing it. That's rare for a rookie, and that's really the picture I've got in my head watching him. A dominant, physical middle linebacker, a tone setter, a leader, and I say leader because of how he's approaching this whole situation. You know that feeling when life hands you a legit opportunity and you can either treat it like a formality or you can go seize it? That's what I feel like Jaishawn Barham is doing right now. He's not treating this like a formality at all. And look, if your first reaction is, well, he's a third rounder, so let's pump the brakes, I get it, but let's be real about this roster's history with third round picks. Osa Odighizuwa was a third rounder. Siobhan Revel Jr. was a third rounder. Put some more names in the comments if you can think of them, because it feels like we only talk about first and second round hits on this team, but that's just not the full story. Deron Bland later, obviously that's a different round, but my point stands. This front office has hit on day 3 talent before, and I think Jaishawn Barham is next in that line. Honestly, I don't even fully understand why he slid to the third round in the first place. Watching him, you think the second round easily. What really stands out, though, is just how physical this dude is. And I don't think we talk about that enough. You watch him attack off the edge, and then you flip to him dropping into zone coverage, and it doesn't look forced at all. It looks completely natural. That's a big deal because a lot of edge guys get exposed the moment you ask them to drop. They get stiff, they hesitate. And you can tell right away this guy's going to be a pure pass rusher and nothing else. That's not what I'm seeing from Jaishawn Barham. He looks comfortable getting to his zone, settling in, reacting to the football like he's been doing it for years. That right there might end up being one of those steals, the kind where by the end of the season, everybody's asking how in the world did this guy fall to us? And here's the other piece of this that I think works completely in his favor. He's got nothing to lose right now. He's not walking into a situation where the expectation is he's got to be the best young middle linebacker in the league from day one. He can just play free. All he can really do from here is go up. Meanwhile, the guys in front of him, Overshown, D. Winters, they've got pressure on them. They can slip and lose their spot. Jaishawn Barham doesn't have that same weight on him yet, and I think that works to his advantage in a huge way. Now, think about the room he's surrounded by. Up front, you've got Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams keeping things clean. You got Otito Ogbonnia and Jonathan Bullard in that tackle rotation too. That's a stacked group. Then you add LT Overton off the edge, Malachi Lawrence, who's a straight-up mountain of a human being if you've seen pictures of him. Donovan Azerewaku, Sam Williams. James Houston, another pass rusher who can get after it. Plus Caleb Downs, one of the smartest football minds to come into this league in years. And in the back end, you got Kobe Durant, PJ Locke, Jalen Thompson. This kid is surrounded by talent everywhere he looks, which means he can just go out there and play downhill without worrying about covering for everybody else. He doesn't hesitate to shed blocks either. He's physical, he's young, and honestly, he just looks the part. And I think we're about to see that show up at camp. I've been holding off talking about this too much because I didn't want it to just feel like empty hype, but I think once camp opens, we're going to see Jaishawn Barham put somebody on the ground. He's going to hit somebody a little harder than the coaches probably want in a padless period, and that's just who he is. He's not a finesse guy. Some of the other linebackers on this roster play with more finesse, and hey, drop some names in the comments if you agree, but that's not Jaishawn Barham's game at all. He's a freight train. He's all business. One more thing I really respect about him, he didn't take the easy path to get here. He started out at Maryland, then transferred to Michigan. That's not a straight line to success. That's a guy who had to adjust, had to prove himself again in a new system, had to earn everything twice. And I think when you go through that kind of adversity, you appreciate the opportunity that much more when it finally comes. Jaishawn Barham has had to earn his spot at every single stop, and being drafted by the Cowboys doesn't change that pattern one bit. He's still got Overshown playing for a contract in front of him, still got D. Winters trying to lock down his own role, still got a room full of guys with real experience. And on top of all that, he's got the media, myself included, constantly saying the front office needs to go find another veteran linebacker. And I gotta think in his head, his response to that is simple. Why go get somebody else when I'm already right here? So here's what I want to know from you guys. Do you think Jaishawn Barham earns that starting role? Or do you think he's stuck behind the guys ahead of him all season? Because personally, I think by the time this season wraps up, we're going to be talking about Jaishawn Barham the way we talked about Micah Parsons when he first hit the scene as a rookie. I don't think it happens in week one. I think he gets a handful of early opportunities, flashes in those moments, earns more snaps, they start rotating him in more, and by the back half of the season, he's the guy starting in that middle linebacker spot. And if that actually happens, my real question becomes, who's coming off the field to make room for him? Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.